Things are happening. I am standing in what will be the entryway to my new house in just a few short months. Work on this place has officially begun, and I have not cut my hair for like a month. Quick update to the neighborhood. If you remember what it looked like in episode 1, which was only a month ago, they have gone on a home building bonanza over here. There are 33 different properties with their foundations done, the blocks up, and on to various stages of finishing the rest. We met with Omar, the construction manager, for our first official construction manager meeting where he sort of laid out the timeline, how this will all come together, and potentials for delays in the build. I guess let's start with the negatives and get those out of the way. Who knew? I actually had read something about this during the beginning of the pandemic, but I didn't realize it was still going on. But there is a nationwide shortage of electrical transformers. What's a transformer do, Nicholas? Well, I'm glad you asked, because no one else is here. When power leaves whatever power plant, solar field, or wind farm it starts at, it's much more efficient to send that power long distances at extremely high voltages, hundreds of thousands of volts. And if that means nothing to you, the outlets in your house are 120 volts, while your dryer and your stove are 240 volts. So the lines that you see going along the highway have thousands of times more voltage than what's actually in your house. You've no doubt driven by one of these power substations before. There's one on the far edge of my neighborhood. These are where the long distance power lines receive that crazy high voltage and transform the power down to just a few thousand volts to send it into the neighborhoods. When the power line arrives at your neighborhood, it goes through another smaller transformer. Sometimes they look like this, or sometimes they're a big green box like this. Those bring the voltage down to the 240 volts that actually go into your house. And the way these things actually work seems magical. It's like one coil of wires on one side and then less of a coil of wires on another side and like a magnetic sort of iron thing that goes between them. I should make a whole video about that, actually. It's really interesting. The smaller local ones, are the types of transformers that are apparently being affected by this shortage. Evidently, because of this transformer shortage, we could run into a situation where our house is completely fully built and ready to go, but we can't move into it because having power to your house is one of those essential things that has to be signed off on in the permit in order to complete the contract. The house is slated to be done sometime in April, maybe May. I'm medium optimistic that this might be resolved in time because there is power to the neighborhood, just not all the way through the neighborhood. Like a block and a half away, that part of the neighborhood does have power. So I guess the silver lining is that we're only waiting on a single piece of hardware that has to come from China. But it has nothing to do with the builder, it's the city that needs to provide power to this part of the city. It's kind of nuts that 3 years have gone by and some company hasn't popped up to capitalize on this transformer shortage. They must be really hard to make. I don't know. Anyway, that's the only bad news we've received so far. The good news was when we showed up here to go to the meeting, there was a dude in a bobcat leveling out the pad for our foundation. Then I came back a day later, which was yesterday now, and there was a whole team of folks installing these boards in the ground in the shape of a house. From the sky, it looks like there's only a couple of other properties in this phase, and the concrete guy is on site making the rounds. Omar says the foundation guys pretty much work continuously, and so we'll have ours poured by next week. During the construction meeting, he walked us through the neighborhood and took us into some of the houses to point out various things. And that's when I learned we're gonna have this really nice paver stone driveway. I was asking about all these concrete patches on the blocks of the ground floors of all these houses, and he was describing that every time you see one of these patches, there's actually a full solid column of concrete and rebar that goes the whole height of the wall, which makes these houses hurricane-proof. It's a good feature to have here in Florida. I learned a brand new thing about brand new houses that I had never heard of, never even really thought of before. Our new house will have central air, that's standard, but we're also gonna have central bug control. Omar was pointing out these thin green and blue lines that run through all the walls in the house.
These little green and blue tubes running through the entire house?
I guess these lines are microscopically perforated. On the outside of the house, there's gonna be this special port. I'm on the inside where that all comes through. So our bug guy will come once every however often, and he'll just jack into the port on the other side of this wall, and he's able to just squirt chemicals into all of the walls of the house and the inside of the walls. So our bug guy can do the bug treatments without ever going into the house. This apparently makes it so they don't have to spray anything anywhere, inside or out. Don't really worry about the dog licking up bug spray, but we're gone a lot and it's hard to schedule stuff. This means I can just leave food out on the counters forever, and nary a fruit fly or an army of ants will ever find it. If you don't live in Florida, you may not think it's normal to even have a bug guy. I get that. There are a lot of bugs down here, but we don't have winter, so there's that. Also, like I said in episode 1, we paid extra to have the entire house extra insulated. So that means they fill the entire first floor, all the concrete blocks, with foam. And Omar took me over to this house, which has this feature, and he showed me how I'll be able to see it so that I can ensure that it gets done. Not like you can look inside the block, but I guess they put little holes all along the perimeter so the inspector can see that the foam is coming out. Omar says I'm welcome to spray paint my name next to his on the house once the blocks are up. So I got that going for me. I found out there's gonna be AT&T fiber optic lines that go directly into every house. So we're gonna have super fast internet. That's gonna be great. The construction manager gave me his phone number and he says that I'm welcome to come to the build site anytime. I can look at everything, and if anything looks wrong or out of place, I can just give him a call and he'll come right over there. And holy shit, that seems like really good service compared to some of the horror stories I'm reading on the home building subreddit. So, since the house has now officially started the build, and we don't actually know the exact timeline, well, that means the house that we're living in now has to go up for sale. And that shed light on the fact that there's been a few projects that I've been ignoring for years. So last week, Sarah and I got those whipped up. A while ago, Sarah and Joey and I painted this house from peach to gray, but we ran out of gray paint somewhere around the back of the house. It was a Sunday. I figured I'd just go to Home Depot during that week and we'd finish it up the next weekend. Well, that week turned into several years. Whoops-a-daisy. Sarah remembered the name of the paint color, which I thought was a little odd. So we picked up a couple of gallons of paint last week and got that little problem resolved. And then also, a mysterious force had knocked part of our fence down some months ago, maybe years ago. So I had to go rent a post hole digger because I managed to lose mine. A tool that's 6 foot long and weighs 30 pounds. Just went away. So got that post sunk in, whipped up the fence, put it back together. We got to work on a plan for the move. Luckily, we have access to this big warehouse, so holding on to our stuff will be easy. Plus, we're pretty much gonna throw away like 80% of everything we own. Just my office stuff, our clothes, and our bed is coming with us. These hand-me-down couches have reached the very end of their life cycle. At this point, Sarah and I had a very consequential decision to make. We're gonna sell the house now to take advantage of this weird combination of market conditions where house values are strangely expensive, even though the rates are so high that basically no one can afford them. What that's led to in my neighborhood is that there's almost no inventory at all. When my realtor did the MLS search, there was like 4 other houses in a whole mile radius, which contains thousands of houses. We live in a big suburb. A realtor says that that means that this fairly small, fairly old, not renovated house that we bought for $199,000 in 2018 will probably sell in like a week and for $400,000. We are deep into the upside down with this being a reality. Blame the Harambe timeline for these conditions. We're gonna use this extra 200 grand to put solar with a big battery on the house and a pool hot tub combo with one of those giant screened in backyards. I don't know exactly how much a pool costs. I'm actually going through this whole thing with Angie's List right now, getting quotes from a bunch of different people. And the quotes range so widely, like literally double each other's price, that I don't even know if there is a regular price for a pool. That's definitely something I'll talk about in a future episode of this house building series. But all right, the decision. Without knowing how the market may change, without knowing when this transformer shortage may be resolved, and without really knowing how long it'll take to close on the house, if you've bought and sold houses recently or within the last forever, sometimes you can get to the very end of the process and their financing will fall through and the whole thing kind of just starts over. Or an inspection might uncover some unexpected terrible thing. So we don't want to cut it close with the timing at all. We want a good sized time buffer. So we're selling now, but we're not moving into the new house for like 6 to 8 months. We could either rent a place, but we would need a place that will let Chop come with us. Big 100-pound dog, which, holy crap, will be like double what we pay for our mortgage now. Or we could move in with my parents, save up a ton of money, pay off a ton of debt, and eat a ton of my mom's breakfast crepes. And that is exactly what we've chosen to do. I am a married, middle-aged man with a 6-figure household income, and I'm moving back in with my parents. This is gonna be hilarious. Those are the updates. Next week, I'll be standing in that same spot, but I'll be a few inches higher because there will be a foundation underneath my feet. Get subscribed to follow along with the whole process of building a house and moving into this rapidly changing pre-planned neighborhood. Goodbye.